So, as always, I like to think about this time, especially at the end of a busy day or even a quiet day. Any day, it's just always things happening. But as time to enjoy, time to relax, time to just rest and really do nothing much. Just to enjoy just being here. For the next little while, we have nothing to do, nowhere to go. And world will be fine for a little while if you just are not there for a while. Your family will be fine, your work will be fine, your house, your pets, everything will be fine without you for a little while. They can handle it. We don't need to plan about things because future is very, very uncertain. Whatever you think it's going to be, it's always going to be different. So when we remember that, it could be better, it could be worse, but it's a waste of time thinking about what's going to happen, what you have to do. And the past cannot be changed. It's already happened and gone by. It's like a dream or a nightmare, whatever it is, it's finished. It's no point bringing that up now as well. It's a real waste of time. All we have is this moment, just to be here, just to relax. So, just inclining our mind to this beautiful present. That is why it's called a present. It's like a gift when you can touch it. Yeah, so when you become aware to just being here, to now. And instead of giving attention to your mind, just ground yourself with the body. It's a very beautiful thing to learn to do. So give a break to your mind from thinking and worrying or planning or even doing anything. Instead, give full attention just to your body. Always have an attitude of your body as your somebody else, like your best friend. When it is your body, that is when you want to control it, want it to be this way or that way, or not this way or that way. But when it is the body of somebody who you love, somebody who you care, you have a very different attitude towards your body. So bring up that affection towards your body. And I always like to ground myself with the touch sensations of my palms on my thighs and my feet on the ground. And I like to allow my whole body to just gently relax, little bit by little bit. Just tell yourself that you want to be here to enjoy this relaxation, to enjoy this rest. So that will stop you from falling into kind of sleepiness or low mindfulness, because that would generate a bad meditation habit. In meditation is a process of really waking up, becoming alert, becoming aware to here, to now, to this body. So even if you're feeling tired, still tell yourself relaxing is nice, resting is nice. I want to be here and enjoy that pleasure of relaxation. And bringing up a smile is always very helpful to get started with relaxation. Any of you who have been to Santi Monastery, you might remember the deep peace, the deep stillness of this monastery, or any other place where you have felt or you have touched stillness. And if, when you remember that, your mind can incline towards that peace, that stillness, and allow it to gently grow inside of you. Breath is very, very tranquilizing, very settling, also a very good support to ground yourself. So if your mind naturally inclined towards the breath that's going in, that's going out, you can keep your attention there. As we are coming close to the end of the meditation, take a little bit of time to notice how you feel. How does your body feel? How is your mind? And see how what worked and what didn't work. There's always some kind of change by even simply sitting in one place rather than running around. It's always nice to sit with a community, even if it is a Zoom community. You know, a number of people are meditating together with me in this time, and it's a very nice support. So you can take 3 long, deep breaths, and at the end of the last one, you can open your eyes and come out of meditation. So today's topic is how not to get affected by other people. Is that a good idea? Are you sure? Because some people are shaking their head and saying yes. What did the Buddha say about this? How not to get affected by other people? The Buddha said in a very famous chanting that we do, very, very common chanting, which is called Mangala Sutta in Pali, or blessing chant. The very first verse. And usually there is always in the Buddha's teachings, the most important thing he usually says first, right? And the first thing he said as a blessing in that sutta, what happens is some of the heavenly beings ask, invites the Buddha, say out of kindness and for the benefit of many beings, please let us know what are the blessings for us, what good practices can we do, what things when developed and cultivated and practiced is going to bring us some blessing to our life, something good for our life. And the Buddha says, asevana cha balanang panditanang cha sevana. Puja cha pujaniyanang etang mangala muttamam. So asevana cha balanang. Sevana means association. Asevana means do not associate. And bala means fools. Or you can also call idiots. So don't associate the idiots or the fools in your life. But he said, Panditanancha sevana. Pandita means wise people, and sevana means associate. So it says associate the wise. So do not associate the fools, but associate the wise. So it's not about not getting affected by people, all people, but I understand when somebody proposed the subject, it's about getting negatively affected by people. This is what people are normally telling. I don't want to get affected by other people, is get negatively affected by. But there is a positive getting affected by other people, and that is something recommended by the Buddha. So also this is important because when we think about it, Not everybody is wholly bad, right? Sometimes, they can be a bit irritating at times or agitating or say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and then we get upset. But as a person, are they like really terrible all around? It's very rare in the world to find such a person. I mean, such people do exist, but very, very rare for us to find somebody who's completely bad. Yeah. So it's important for us to remember how do we do this. Yeah. So, not getting affected by other people, this is important in a negative way. But how do you do that? Because, your family members, you can't get rid of them. You have to be with them. Yeah. Sometimes people at work, you can't keep running away from workplace to workplace because every workplace has difficult people. Yeah, people who affect give has a negative impact on you. This is life, right? So we can't constantly run away from people who affect you in the wrong way. But how do you take care of yourself when we have to live with these people, who have business to do with these people, or associate them to some degree, of course. So there's quite a very beautiful two suttas that I can highly recommend for you to read. I will talk about those two suttas, both of them. And the names of the suttas, the first one is called First sutta on removing resentment. The second one is called second sutta on removing resentment. So why it is called like removing resentment, but it is about, when you get resentment or dislike and irritation, precisely when you have to be with people who are difficult. And this is the kind of thing, this is the effect that you get, right? As a result of being around somebody angry, it tends to make you angry a bit. If you're hanging around too long with somebody who's very, very sad, sometimes you also tend to sort of fall into the same kind of thing. So, in a similar way, somebody who's very restless, worrying about things all the time, before you know it, you find yourself doing the same thing. So, this is what the Buddha said about not associating. So when the Buddha says fools, doesn't mean like somebody who's stupid all around. It could be somebody very highly intelligent with a high IQ, but probably EQ is down or the defilements are a bit up at the time. That's what it is. Yeah, they're not at that time helping you to become wise, helping you to become peaceful, helping you on this spiritual journey. Instead, they are dragging you down on the opposite direction at that time. That's all. So this is where we got to be careful, because of course we can't help, right? We can't just stay in complete isolation. We can't exist like this. So we have to be around people. So how do we do this? Yeah, how do we do this? So I'm going to first talk about the first sutta, which is quite small. So I'm going to just read it out. And it says bhikkhus, but it is called bhikkhunis, upasakas, and upasikas. So it's for everybody. It's just a standard way of addressing by the Buddha. He says, there are these 5 ways of removing resentment by which a bhikkhu should entirely remove resentment when it has arisen towards anyone. What 5? One should develop loving kindness for the person one resents. In this way, one should remove resentment towards that person. The second one should develop compassion for the person one resents. In this way, one should remove the resentment towards that person. The third one should develop equanimity towards the person one resents. In this way, one should remove resentment towards that person. Fourth one should disregard the person one resents and pay no attention to him. In this way, one should remove the resentment towards that person. And the fifth one should apply the idea of ownership of karma to the person one resents. Thus, This venerable one is the owner of his karma, the heir of his karma. He has karma as his origin, karma as his relative, karma as his resort. He will be the heir of any karma he does, good or bad. In this way, one should remove the resentment towards that person. These are the 5 ways of removing resentment, by which a bhikkhu should entirely remove resentment when it has arisen towards anyone. So the first one was developing metta, loving kindness. Second one was compassion. Third one was equanimity. Fourth one was you should disregard. That means just not associate the person, kind of thing. And the fifth one is the idea of karma. But it's easily said than done, isn't it? It makes sense and it feels good. Oh, yeah, that's amazing. That would be great to be able to do. But we've been there, done that many times when, there's a strong personality or a strong emotion being triggered. It's not so easy. Yeah. So we have to know time and place and where we are at, what we can do. So we have to start from where we are at and decide what is it that I can do at that time. So one of the things is, so mindfulness is very important, of course. So this is why in the Buddhist paths, mindfulness has such an important kind of place. Yeah, because if we don't have mindfulness, we get carried away with this and get affected, and we affect the other person and do many bad things at the end. But if we develop slowly some mindfulness, and these people who we get affected are actually people close to us or people who we have to see often, right? If it was somebody, a stranger who you just saw one time, it's nothing, right? It's not a big deal. You forgot about that person and finished with. But these are repetitive incidences in our life, so we know these people very well. So at a time when you're peaceful, then you can sort of reflect and see, so what are the things that they do? What are the things that they say? What kind of situation brings on that kind of unwholesome or the difficult side of this person that's affecting me in a negative way? So it is important to sort of figure that out. And then when you tell your mindfulness, next time when the situation is building up, you can see, it doesn't suddenly happen. There are always often some, early signs of what's happening or the person coming into the scene or a situation arising. So then you become a bit more alert. Okay, this is now a time that I have to be very careful. Yeah, if you are not mindful, that is when you sort of go along with and fall into their energy, fall into their power. Yeah, and then that is when you get really negatively affected. But if you are able to sort of tell, you'll be surprised if you tell this instruction to yourself at a time when you're peaceful, not at that time when you're already emotionally triggered. Forget about that incident, that's already finished, too late. But this is for the future, how to prepare for the future, right? Future event, you tell yourself, okay, next time when this person is there, when this kind of situation is building up, this is what I'm going to do. So then you can see what would be appropriate depending on the person and depending on the situation. Sometimes it might be best to just give space, walk away from a situation in a kind, good way, or a skillful way. You might at that time need to go to toilet, right? So find a skillful way to have a little bit of a gap, a break. It's always helpful because impulsive acting is what is causing problem. So when you buy some time in a skillful way, it's always very helpful. So find out which skillful ways can I buy time. Oh, I'm thirsty, I need to get a drink. Or something like that, whatever it is that is appropriate. If you can do that, that's always very helpful because that breaks that momentum. And it also gives you some space to prepare yourself to be able to do something. And then, of course, you have to know whether you are ready. So we have to be ready beforehand. So the whole spiritual path, that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to build up this resilience, this immunity, so that we don't get affected negatively by the world. Yeah, this is important because that's what the Buddha said. Don't associate the foolish, stupid, unwholesome side of the world, because when you get conditioned by that, that's where you're heading. And we will be surprised. We are usually thinking about this difficult person, but sometimes our problems not come from there just by watching TV. Yeah, the advertisements or whatever else that you think is not a bad thing. But, all of those things are difficult and bad. Sometimes could be even worse than what your difficult person is doing to you. Yeah, but they come in disguise. Sometimes desires can be very, very dangerous. And you think, oh, it's nothing, it's a nice thing to have this kind of desire and go along and follow that a bit. But then before you know it, you get into trouble. So, association means not just only people, but how not to get by even what you see, what you read as you drive along, the billboards you see, what you take from there, how to look at these things in the right way. So sense restraint, yeah, in the right way doesn't mean that you close your eyes. At least eyes you can close at times, not when you're driving, but sometimes you can close your eyes, but you can't close your ears, right? Not properly. You can still hear. So therefore, sense restraint is not about avoiding these things and not looking at these things, but the way you give attention when you look at something. Yeah. If when you look at something, desire comes up in you, the moment you see, you realize, okay, I need to look at this in a much more neutral way. How can I do that? And there are so many instructions in the Buddhist path how to look at something and not get affected. Like if getting affected by another person could be like getting affected that you're getting attracted to somebody else's partner. Big problem, right? That's also a problem. So if that is starting to happen, then there are reflections, yeah, just to either see not the beautiful side of the person or the danger of following that kind of way. There are so many techniques. This talk isn't going to be enough to address all those points, but they're very easily found in the suttas. How to do sense restraint is everywhere, right? So it is about developing that kind of skill. But what I'm going to focus on here today is a couple of other techniques that are also very helpful and also given by the Buddha. And that is the way you attend on the situation. So with your mindfulness, when you see, okay, this person, let's just take up our typical example, which is somebody's doing or saying something and you're getting irritated. So you can feel that irritation coming. You started your day so beautifully. It was a nice, peaceful day. You were minding your own business, having a great time. And this person came up and said this, and that was the end of your nice day. I'm sure we have all had days like that, right? And then, of course, we point our finger to that person and we want to get rid of this person from our life, and we sort of feel so bad why this happened to me. It feels like your happiness was taken away by this person. But if you really look at it, really, you have to put the finger towards us. It's how you look at the person makes a world of a difference to your experience. Now I'm going to tell just the possibility, right? This person who is doing this thing that is very irritating, very harmful, or very unacceptable, right? When you think about it in a way that is, this is not right, they shouldn't do that, this is stupid, this is bad, whatever it is, when you think like that, that is when your irritation and your anger starts to build up inside of you. There's always a think pattern of way that you think and attend towards that situation or the person. So that is what keeps up your irritation or your anger. So next time when this is happening, catch the phrases that you're using. Oh, this shouldn't be done, this is so bad. And then even there would have been a day when you had enough of being angry with this person, you're fed up and you want to stop. So you stop for a couple of minutes, then it comes, but you know, they shouldn't have said that. It's as if it's unstoppable momentum keeps coming at you, right? That's because you fed it a lot. So because you fed it a lot, it takes a while. So in the future, what we are trying to do is you already do your homework. You realize the way you think about these familiar people doing the familiar same kind of thing to change the way you attend. So you find out one day why for 10 or 20 or 30 years this person hasn't changed, keep doing the same stupid thing, and you keep getting angry at them and nothing has changed. I mean, that's really pathetic, right? We need to be able to do something. So you one day realize, okay, why are they doing this, or why are they behaving in this way? In the past, you probably never bothered to look, only said this is bad, they shouldn't do it, and try to change the person. But the day you ask the question why, it's going to be a different answer. If you really sincerely ask the question and really want to find out, because this is right view, right? Causes and conditions. All of our actions are conditioned by our past and our habits and the way we have trained for ourselves and the other people. So, what happened? Why are they like this? And maybe you find out they have a different worldview to you. I mean, you know, it's okay. Some people have very different worldview. What can you do? That's how they have brought up. That's how they've been taught. Even if it is wrong, what can you do? That's what their parents or their teachers or their culture believed, right? Um, so what can you do? That's what they know. That's how they know how to do it. Or you realize actually they are going through a very difficult time. They're in incredible pain, either physical or mental pain, and that is why they're behaving like that. Or you realize actually they're actually quite crazy, they're actually mentally not well. And this is the case with a lot of people who do bad things. Actually, most people in their right mind wouldn't do something really harmful for another person if they're doing, even at that time, they're temporarily at least mentally not well, maybe not diagnosed as somebody with a certain kind of condition, but at that time. And the Buddha says the defilements cause mental illness. That's what it is. Yeah. The Buddha says only an arahant, a fully enlightened being, is the only fully cured, healthy person in the world. So all of us, as long as we have defilements, we are all mentally quite unwell. It's just a degree where we stand. So at a time, even when we have done something hurtful and harmful, those times we have been not well. And also it's like when the defilements are there in the mind, it's like we are walking in the dark. If it is dark, you walk all over everybody, right? Because you can't see. And this is what we normally see, right? When we have done something bad, we say, oh, at the time I couldn't see, that's what I did, it I regret now, but too late, other person got hurt. But you know what it feels like. So it's similar to this other person when they're doing this thing that is difficult for you, they can't really see. They are like people with no eyes, they are blind, they're in the darkness, their wisdom has departed, they're mentally temporary insane. So that's why they're doing that, or they got wrong information. So there's always a cause. When you actually try to look at the cause in a very sincere way, you try to understand, okay, I can see why this is happening, why this is repeating. And actually, when that happens, eventually you might be able to do something to help the situation for yourself and the other person, because you realize, okay, this is where something is happening. See whether you can do something to help the person. But importantly, what happens is your attitude change. And you will see, especially if you see the other person suffering a lot. And this is usually the case with people who are difficult in our life. They are incredibly suffering. Sometimes you can't see because superficially on the outside, they might be laughing, they might look like they're having a great time, that they look powerful, they look all of those things. So you think that, oh, they are in a good shape and why are they doing that? But inside, you can't tell sometimes how much suffering the person might be having. And sometimes what they do, all these stupid things people do, are a way of trying to get rid of their suffering. And we do the same. You can see when we do that, this is what it is. This is what happens to human beings. So when we sort of relate to that and when we see that, instead of getting irritation, instead of getting agitation, compassion starts to come up in our hearts. So you realize, my goodness, this is difficult. This is really difficult. They are suffering. Yet, they have to own the karma, the actions, the intentional actions by body, speech, and mind done by people. They are the owners of that. So they have to reap consequences of their bad action. Yet you can also see this was conditioned to them. Something happened, their sickness, their family, their trouble, whatever it is, there are causes and conditions that's leading them to do whatever unskillful thing that they're doing. Yet, they're still also the owner and they have to repay. And this is when like huge compassion come up in our heart for other people and to oneself, because we too have been there. We are not perfect people as well, right? When we say about other people being difficult people, we are also a difficult person to somebody in the world, for sure. There will be somebody who will find us difficult, and with us getting in a bad way, in one way or the other. This is how it goes, because this is the nature of people with defilements. When they come up, it's like that. So this way of understanding these things, this is cultivating right view in a good way about the non-self nature, the conditional nature of our actions. We are going to be able to forgive ourselves and forgive others. So when this starts to come up a lot about the conditionality about our actions, then it's not so easy to get negatively affected by other people, because you sort of feel what's going on. Yeah, why this is happening. So once that understanding comes up, it is one of those Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes, one of those actually spring up in our heart. So compassion is one of the biggest things, because when you see the suffering in the other person who's doing things that are difficult or going through a difficult thing themselves, if they are sad and you're getting sucked into their sadness, because this is another thing that happens quite often with people, especially with very close people. If your best friend is really, really going through a hard time and really, really sad, it's easy for us to also fall into that. And that's also getting affected by other people. But when you see that, instead of going into that and getting sucked into the sad feeling, you have compassion coming up and have that wish, may they be free from suffering. So this is how that you can cultivate that coming up inside of you. So it takes time. So you have to build up. So even though I read out that sutta and it says, okay, you should develop metta, you should develop compassion, you should develop equanimity and all of those things, we have to prepare ourselves. We have to be ready ourselves. Our mind has to have that energy within to be able to do that. So this is where it's so important that we take care of our own mind and every day ready for these things. Now, there are days that you have been ready, and I will remind you of this, right? There would have been a day that you were in such a good mood. Yeah. You've slept well, woken up well, you are very happy, things are going well in your life. Your mind is truly in a good energy state. And something difficult happens, but you would notice that it didn't affect you as much. And the same kind of thing would have happened on a day when you were already quite down, tired, lack of sleep, already grumpy, and not doing so well in your mind. And that small little thing feels unbearable. So this goes to show, it is also about us. It's not only about the other person. So their effect on us, what we do is building up our own resilience. So how not to get affected negatively by other people? then we have to build up a lot of joy inside of us. Yeah, this is very, very important. A lot of joy and a lot of stability inside of us. So the whole spiritual path. So at least little joys. If you can't do the big joys, do the little joys. And sometimes little joys are not so little. Yeah, just smiling a bit more every day, doing little acts of kindness to people or to animals or to anybody, thinking about the life in a good way instead of negatively focusing. Catch yourself and try to change. Have fun and games in your life. Don't be so serious with life. Sometimes as we become adults, we become like really tight, really serious, and I don't know, like weighed down by responsibility or something like that, which isn't even there. It's not very nice. So sometimes to be like a bit childlike, I'm not saying to be stupid, but I'm saying, be a bit more free, a bit more playful, be a bit more creative, because creativity, playfulness, all of those things also uplift our mind. But of course, the real things in the path or the spiritual path is starting from generosity. Yeah, the generosity of your heart to make somebody else happy. Yeah, that is generosity in a nutshell, kind of thing. And then the second one is being a good person to your best ability. So being good feels good. So how you speak, how you act, how you think in the day. So when you do little things and take care of these little things in a day by day, you build up a lot of joy, a lot of energy, good energy in your mind. So when you have that strength of mind, then these other people do whatever they do, you're able to deal with it in a good way. You don't get so easily sucked in with their energy. You are able to create a barrier, a very nice, powerful barrier to stop and sort of be like an observer from a distance. Yeah, from a distance. Um, uh, there was a day that I have been quite upset and quite grumpy. I can also get upset and grumpy. So I was in a very kind of grumpy, upset mood. And then with a grumpy, upset mood, I was talking with one of my friends, just a way of, feeling better. So I was expecting them to be, sympathetic and, caring and feeling, I feel for you, you're grumpy today or you're not feeling well. Instead, they started laughing, laughing. And they found it hilarious to see me in a grumpy mood. And in the beginning, I was like, what? You don't care about me? And then later I realized, well, actually, they are seeing me from a distance, right? They know me better to know, like, I mean, this is just a silly, small little moment of being grumpy or upset at something. This is not really, long term I can deal with it, but they found it so funny to see me in that state. So when they started laughing, then it sort of broke my grumpiness and everything, because you can't when somebody's laughing, but they're not laughing at you or anything like that, because you have that trust, because they're a good friend. But it's like they found it hilarious. So it would be nice for us also, even if you don't laugh out, if the person is not ready, in your mind you take it lightly. Yeah, so when you see somebody else getting upset, getting irritated, getting agitated or really grumpy, instead of getting grumpy back at them, you see it from a distance. Oh, they're going through something. This is not their whole personality, but and you see something cute and nice about people sometimes being like that. So there are very different ways that you can approach this, but you to be able to do that, you need a gap. Yeah. So getting space between you and them is important. So buying space is one, taking that time to prepare yourself, preparing ahead of time, and doing all of those things to bring up joy in your life, happiness in your life by being generous, being kind, keeping your virtue, doing good things, smiling more, all of those things. Resting, relaxing, these are everything I tell in almost every single Dhamma talk because this is so important. Yeah, this is so very important. So we are ready. So we are ready to be with these people. So once we have that ability, once we have that energy, there's another very beautiful, the second sutta on how to remove resentment is a very, very beautiful one, right? It's a very beautiful one, even though it's called removing resentment, but it is also about how to associate people in the right way, even if it is a difficult person. So the Buddha says there are 5 different kinds of people in the world. There's only 5. So we belong to one category, or we might change from time to time our personality. So he says, and this is again just a sutta for the monastics. So therefore, the one of the similes is about monastics, but it is for everybody in general. So he says there are sometimes some people who do bad things by their body. That means they can be killing, they can be stealing, they can be doing sexual misconduct, and all of those things that are unacceptable, hurtful, and harmful as way of bodily actions. But they could be quite good with their speech. There are some people, even though their bodily actions are bad, they may be speaking quite kindly. They might be gentle in their speech. They might be truthful. They might create harmony, not disharmony. So there are people whose bodily actions may be not so good, but their verbal actions are good. But what happens to us is the moment we see even one bad thing about person, we jump at it. Oh, they're bad, they're terrible, they're a killer, or they're a robber, or they're a whatever, and we label them, and that's all you sort of emphasize it, you like enlarge it, and that's all you can see in the person, and you keep associating that bad thing about that person. The Buddha says, don't do that. He says, you are the one who is in need of a robe in this simile. And at the time of the Buddha, the material was not so easy to find. This was very, very expensive. So what the monastics did sometimes, if they wanted a robe, was they will go on in the highways and they see sometimes the cloth that has been wrapped around dead bodies, because that's how they dealt with people when they die. They wrap them around with some material, and then they put them into the carnal ground. So you just essentially took these pieces of material that has been wrapped around dead bodies. And of course, they are quite yucky, right? They have lots of all the yucky stuff that came out from the dead and decaying body. But if you are in the need of a robe, the Buddha says, put that robe on the ground, spread it with your 2 feet, and see the part that is clean. There's always some bits that are clean. Then just rip that clean part off and take that with you, and leave the dirty part just by the side of the road. So what the Buddha says is, when you see this person who does bad things by body, just don't pay attention to that side. That's their business. Their karma will take care of their bad actions. Yeah. But look at their good side. Yeah. If they have good speech, then focus on their good speech. See how well they are kind, they don't lie, they create harmony. What a beautiful person on that side. So this is one kind of person. The second kind of person is the opposite of that. And these are the people who are very good by body. They don't kill, they don't steal, they don't have sexual misconduct and all of those things by body. But their speech is disgusting. Yeah, they lie, they shout, they create disharmony, irritation, difficulty for people, all of that. Right? When we meet such a person, the Buddha says, you are thirsty. It's a really, really hot, sunny day. You're going in search of water, and you come across a pond that is covered in algae. Then if you're thirsty, what should you do? You just push with your hands the algae, and then with your cupped hands, you can take some clean water, drink it, and subside your thirst, cool down. Yeah, because you are in need of that cooling, just take that side, right? So again, the Buddha is saying, okay, never mind whatever they do by their speech. Yes, their speech is rotten. Don't pay attention to that. Instead, just pay attention to the good side because that's the thing that is helpful for you. Yeah, sometimes they might be having better good actions, but even better than you. So you can actually get that goodness from them. That's like drinking the water. Their bodily actions might be much more pure than you. So by associating their good side, you help yourself to become better. Even using a difficult person, you can still, if you focus on their good side, they also have sides that are much better than you as well sometimes. So try and focus on that, and then you benefit. So this is when you don't get negatively affected, but you get positively affected. So this is why the Buddha said, association we can't help. Associations are constantly conditioning us. So focus, give attention to the positive conditioning by focusing on the good qualities of the person. And then comes to the third person. Then that is the one who's bad with their body, bad with their speech. But even, so this is a bit more difficult person, right? It's hard to see. But even such people from time to time have an opening in their mind, meaning that sometimes they can be kind, sometimes they have thoughts of generosity. Even such people sometimes go and meditate. Yeah, sometimes they will try and meditate as well. They will from time to time have wholesome mindsets. Quite hard to see, but you would see if you look. So again, it's a very hot day. You are thirsty, and what you come across this time is not a pond, but only a muddy puddle, a small little mud puddle with a bit of water. What is it like in a mud puddle? What would happen if you try to drink water with your cupped hands? What will you be drinking? Only mud, right? So, but if you want to drink clean water, what do? Because the top layer of a muddy puddle is still clean water. There's clean water at the very top because it has settled down. So it's the top layer is clean. So you go down with your all fours like an animal, like a cow. And then with your tongue, you can just lick the top clean water and still you can subside your thirst to a little degree. Yeah. So the Buddha is saying, still try hard. Even this difficult person who's like really bad by body, bad by speech, try and see there's some goodness in that person and give attention to that. The rest you don't give attention to. You don't pay attention to. Yeah. So this is important to know. And the fourth person is the all bad person, like really the really, really bad person by body, speech, and mind. It's got nothing at all. Remember that these are very rare to find this kind of people. Okay. But even if you happen to have the misfortune to have this kind of person in life, then think about them as somebody who's extremely sick, suffering so much, and they're traveling on the highway, they're walking on the highway on a hot day, and the cities in either side is far away, and you know this person's going to die without getting any food, any water, any medicine, any support, any help, just by the side of the road without any help. And if they are somebody who has done things that are unskillful by body, speech, and mind, we know the effects of karma and vipaka again from right view. They have to bear the consequences of their bad actions, and it's not going to be good. If they have been really, really bad, it's going to be not a good destination for them. So do you go and say, yes, great, that they deserve it, good, they should be punished? That's not the Buddhist attitude, because we said that, this is conditioned. Even their bad actions, their bad behaviors, all of them can be related to their past, this life, previous lives, all of those conditioning. They probably don't have enough wisdom faculty to understand these things. And that is why, yet, you can't say any excuses saying it's because of this I did this, and we can't pinpoint exactly what caused what. That's not our business because we can never find out the actual causes and conditions. But all we know is their actions are caused, yet they have to reap the karmic consequences, and very painful and difficult one in the case of somebody who is very being unskillful by body, speech, and mind. So when you look at that person in that way, actually a lot of compassion comes up. So you actually arouse compassion by looking in this way, just like looking at that person who is sick and suffering and in danger and just going to die by the side of the highway without getting any support, any help, any feelings of being at ease. So again, it's a reflection to use so that you create that barrier instead of allowing yourself to come up all those angry, negative, bad feelings and wanting to get rid of such people from earth. So because it's bad for everybody else, which you can't do. Instead, you build up compassion and you wish them well. And this is how you can even have kindness, compassion, even metta for really bad people, like, I mean, political leaders who create wars, who end up killing so many innocent people. I mean, last week our talk was about wars and, all of those things, all those terrible things, and the people behind a lot of harm in a big way. Even those people, if you think about it, if you actually find out, they are suffering, they have wrong view, they have conditioning from the past. But of course, where are they going to head? If you think about these leaders, very many of the political leaders, where they are going to go, when you see that, you really feel a lot of compassion come up and you wish, may they be happy, may they be in a joyous state, so when their suffering reduces, that they may not act in bad ways for other people. So when you see somebody who's difficult and bad, in your heart, when you wish them well, wish them less suffering, at least your heart feels good. And when you're kind to them, when you feel good, they feel that. And after a period of time, that might have a positive effect on the person. So, anyway, this is why the Buddha mentioned about metta, that is loving kindness, compassion, that is karuna, or equanimity. And equanimity comes from understanding um, that this is what life is about. It's just only this much. This kind of feeling is only there while the contact is there with this person, while you're hearing these bad words, or while you're experiencing this bad physical whatever. But once that contact is gone, it's finished. So you can, these are all big topics, like talking about equanimity, we can talk many talks about it, but that's why the Buddha said build up equanimity, or you think about the person's karmic consequences, or you simply just not give attention to that person if you can't handle it. And that's all right as well. Or you employ this other second sutta's method of developing reflection. So that was 4 people. But the 5th person, that's the important one. Yeah. The 5th person is, again, it's a hot day and you're very, very thirsty. And what you come across is a very nice, big, cool forest pool with clean, nice water. And what should you do? You can jump inside, swim inside it, drink as much water as you like. And then the Buddha said, then when you get out of it, just stay under a shady tree next to the pond. Don't go too far. Stay close by this amazing cool water pond. And who is this? This is a good person, yeah, a person who is good by body, good by speech, good in their mind. Ideally, the highest one would be an enlightened being, but they are not that common in the world at the moment. But there are people who are quite well developed, good, kind, with good qualities, yeah. So again, very, very beautiful when you see that, like, I'm sure you have had this kind of experience. Sometimes when you are next to somebody who's very, very peaceful, There's some kind of very beautiful feeling. Some of you were there meditating together with Ajahn Brahm in our big cave, and many people came up to me and said how they felt when they were in presence of him. Yeah, somebody who's quite good and beautiful, kind, well-developed mind. There is something beautiful about these people, but also not somebody maybe so high and elevated, but also sometimes there are people who speak so beautifully, words that goes to your heart, very gentle, very kind. The way they speak is just delightful. Yeah, and when you associate and hang around these people, it's so nice. It's such a nice way of conditioning, and you realize after a while you also start talking like that. You also become soft and gentle and nice, because this is how we get conditioned. Yeah. So when you see good people or good qualities in people, really go for those. Yeah. Because most people are a mixed bag, as they say. They got good and bad. But try and look. Our nature is to look for the bad. That is just because our sense of self, which wants to be better than everybody else. So when we see bad things in other people, look, they are bad, but I am not like that. Even though you don't say it, that's where it's coming from. Why we like to focus on people's bad qualities is because we want to put them down and elevate ourselves. Whether you know it or not, this is the kind of thing that is happening. That's why it happens like that. But instead, forget about their bad quality. Look for their good, even the good qualities that are better than you, and then associate that, and then there's no problem, right? So it's not about not getting affected by people. It's about not getting affected by the bad side or the stupid side, the stupid, the foolish side of a person, right? But whatever good, the wise side, the kind side, the wholesome side, allow yourself to get conditioned, allow yourself to get affected by the good side of a person. And this is important as well, because it is so important. And a good person is called Kalyana Mitta in Pali. And when the Buddha was having a chat with his attendant Ananda, and Ananda was one day telling, he's very sweet, he was telling, Bante, I just come to realize that 50% of the spiritual path is to do with good friends, kalyana mittas, wholesome association. And the Buddha says, oh, don't say that, Venerable Ananda, don't say that. It's not 50%, it's 100%. Yeah, 100% of the spiritual path, our entire spiritual journey is to do with association of the wise. Because everything what happens, how we cultivate, how we develop, is a process of conditioning. So we need to receive good conditioning, and good conditioning come from associating good, wise people. So when you associate good, wise people, you get good conditioning about bodily behaviors, also verbal behaviors, but also you learn good teachings. So many things that become a benefit for you. So the whole path is also not by just non-association. It's driven also by association. It's also by conditioning. So it is important that we develop this skill, how to associate, the world, people, situations, all of those things. So try to be smart to find out what is helpful, what is good, what is beneficial, what is wise, that is good for me. Pay attention to that, because that's a skill we have. We have the power to decide where we are going to give attention and how we are going to give attention. That is very empowering. Yeah, that is empowering. That is where spiritual path is possible. Otherwise, when you hear that we are all conditioned, then is it like deterministic? Is it like a fatalistic kind of thing? I'm already conditioned, so I have a destination that I'm going to go, and that's nothing I can do. Not at all. Otherwise, there is no living of the spiritual path. There is no enlightenment possible. Change is not possible then, right? Why change is possible? Precisely because we do have the ability at that point. How you attend, how you give attention is the really important place, and you need mindfulness for doing that. So with mindfulness, how you attend on something is how you navigate this thing, how you associate. So this attention is called yoniso manasikara, wise attention. And the opposite of it is ayoniso manasikara, unwise attention. So when we attend unwisely, what happens? Negative, unwholesome quality starts to grow in our mind. So that is when you know, okay, that way of attending, that way of thinking about things, looking at things is not helpful. How do you know whether it's wholesome? It's a yoniso manasikara, wise attention is when you attend on something. You see wholesome qualities started to grow. Metta, loving kindness come up in your mind. Compassion comes up in your mind. Your mind becomes stable. You become peaceful. Good, happy, joy conditions start to come up in your mind. Then you know the way you are attending is correct. So trial and error, make mistakes, doesn't matter as long as you learn from them. Then you can find how to slowly attend wisely. But of course, the scriptures are full of ways of wise attention. It's all about that. It's telling what's the right way to think about things. So that's why I'm talk so much about the right view, because that's the starting point of the spiritual path, and it is the right view that provides you the basis to look at the world, look at other people, look at situations in the right way, so that you actually get the right conditioning and you can stay clear from the wrong conditioning. Yeah. So this requires mindfulness. So whenever we are unmindful, we will fall into traps. And that's okay. That's what can we do? But that is precisely why we need to get motivated to build up mindfulness slowly but surely, day by day. So this is starting with that sati sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension. So bringing up awareness to what's going in my mind, what am I doing? So having awareness to what's going on, and then finding out what am I doing and how am I doing? Yeah, how am I thinking? How am I talking? All of those things, and slowly changing the way we do things, the way we relate to things, the way we get conditioned by things. This is 24/7 in the sense all of your wakeful times. This practice can be done. And if you're doing that practice, then no problem whether you're monk or not, or monastic or not, whether you're a busy person or not, whether you have a million things to do or not. While you're doing your million things, you can do it in the right way, and then you are living the spiritual path. You are applying yourself in the right way, and you're doing so much to cultivating your mind. And these are the big things. It's not just about sitting down, meditating, going on retreats and not having enough time and getting frustrated, saying, I don't have time to practice. Not at all. That's important, very, very important to do when you have time. But if that's the only thing you do, and every other time you just allow your mind to go, become heedless, get carried away, and get conditioned by all sorts of things, then there's not much you can do even when you go on retreat. It's not even going to work. And that's also why things don't work. But if you are able to take care of yourself in the right way, apply yourself in the right way, every wakeful moment, as much as possible, you've done so much to build up your mind. And when you have time to meditate, then you will see the mind will meditate well, because it has built up that energy. Good conditioning has is there, and you're going to benefit from it. So this is a big subject. The whole of the holy path, all of the spiritual path can be discussed in this way. But I've taken a lot of time for this Dhamma talk, almost an hour. But I will stop here and ask for questions from anybody. You can unmute and ask, or you can put into the chat.